Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to build a fully automatic pumpkin and melon farm to get all of the pumpkin and melons that you'll ever need, whether you use them for villager trading or anything else. This works on both Minecraft, Bedrock, and Java, so this should be suitable for all players. So let's go ahead and get right to it. The first step is to make the storage system. This is going to store separately pumpkins and melon blocks, so we're going to create two different sections, both of 4 double chests each. So what we want to do is we want to stack vertically 4 double chests right here. Then we want to skip a block and do the same thing right here. For this two-part storage system, we first need to create an item filter to filter out the pumpkins into this left side, and then we need to make an auto crafter setup so that it'll take the melon slices, convert them into melon blocks before putting them in the storage on the right here. So what we're going to go ahead and do to get started is on the pumpkin side, we're going to go ahead and put 4 hoppers like this, all facing into the chests respectively. Then we're going to put 2 temporary blocks right here, a hopper facing into the top block, and now we're going to replace the top block with a comparator. Go 2 blocks outward, 1 block out and down, and then we're going to use this temporary block to place 2 more blocks like this before removing it. Then once you have a shape like this, you want to go ahead and put 3 bits of redstone dust on top. Then you want to put a redstone repeater in the middle with a redstone torch out front. Now we've constructed the single item filter that is going to be our circuit to filter out pumpkins. So what we want to do is put a couple more hoppers. So we're going to go ahead and put a temporary block right here, and then 2 more like this. And we want to place a row of 3 hoppers up top here, all facing to the right. Then once we've done that, we can go ahead and break these 3 blocks. Put a double chest at the end of this hopper line. This will be an emergency buffer in case the storage system filter breaks, which tends to happen sometimes in Bedrock. And then we're going to go ahead and go to the bottom here, where we're going to place 2 temporary blocks, a hopper facing into the second one, and then we're going to break that temporary block and replace it with a crafter. Underneath the crafter, we're going to place a couple blocks, then a comparator coming out. And over tucked in here, we're going to do a comparator into that first one with another crafter facing like this. Inside this crafter, you want to go ahead and select each one of these slots so that they are all selected in full. And now when we come back out here, we'll put a repeater after the comparator that's going into a block, with a redstone torch on the other side. Then you want to go ahead and put 2 blocks down like this, break the first one, put a redstone dust, and now you want to come out and down by 1 block, place a redstone dust, come out 1 more block with another redstone dust, and then we want to go up 1 so that the redstone dust is running into the back of this block with a redstone torch on it. This will be our auto crafter setup, which will craft all the melon slices into melons, which we can demonstrate right here. By putting some melon slices in here, you can see that this will create some melon blocks. Now that that's creating melon blocks, we just have to wire up the second part of the storage system with a couple hoppers going like this into the back of each, and then 1 going down into the top of that chain. And as you can see, the melon blocks will then filter into this side of the storage system. The last thing we need to do to complete the first step is we need to set up our item filter. So what you want to go ahead and do is come over to this comparator right here, open this hopper, and you want to have 44 placeholder blocks and 1 pumpkin. These 44 placeholder blocks are going to spread evenly over the right 4 slots, and then you want to place a pumpkin inside here. As long as this ratio is maintained, your item filter will be working, so whenever items come in from this leftmost hopper, whether they're pumpkin or melon slices, they'll be dealt with accordingly. Now we can move on to part 2, which is installing the timing circuit for this pumpkin and melon farm, which is basically going to control how often the minecart with hopper is launched off to go and collect items. So what you want to go ahead and do is you want to place 2 hoppers on top of this one, like this. Then you're going to go ahead and place a temporary block here and here, break the bottom one, place 1 out like this, and place 1 up like this. On this top one, you want to go ahead and place a redstone torch, and this is going to be the part of the timer that we take the output to later go ahead and launch the minecart. Then what you want to go ahead and do is place one block out and down like this. Then you want to place another one with one on top, two straight out, another one with one on top, one straight out, and one over and up with breaking the temporary block. So once you kind of have a formation like this, in the center here, you want to place a temporary block with a hopper facing into it. Then you want to break that and place a hopper going back into the previous hopper. And now we can place comparators on both of these little slots here. And then we can match the redstone torch on the right side with blocks on top of both of those. On the blocks next to the hoppers, we're going to go ahead and put pistons, and with a redstone block on one of the sides. And then we're going to go ahead and place a couple more redstone torches on the inside of these top blocks with redstone on top of the pistons. If you're on Java, you might have to have a little bit different of a solution here, which could involve like a block on top and maybe some sort of configuration, kind of like this. But since we're on Bedrock, we're going to go ahead and stick with this solution. Now, our hopper timer is pretty much complete, but we do need to do a couple more things. First, let's put an off switch on this. We're going to go ahead and place two blocks, break the middle, place two blocks, break the middle, redstone torches on these, and a lever down on the bottom, so that whenever you flip this lever and this top redstone torch is lit, it will stop the farm in case you don't want it running at the moment. Last thing to do is inside of these hoppers, we need some placeholder blocks. I recommend about 2.5 stacks of blocks. It doesn't really matter what resource this is. So just in either of the hoppers, you want to go ahead and place 2.5 stacks of blocks, and this should be a good starting point. If you want to increase the duration of time that it takes for the hopper minecart to launch again, you can increase this to a max of 5 stacks of blocks between the two hoppers. And if you want to decrease the time, you can remove some blocks. Last thing we need to do is place a couple pieces of redstone dust right here. And then we'll go ahead to the next step. Now we're going to go ahead and build the platform that the minecart with hopper track is going to be on top of. So what we're going to go ahead and do is go to this hopper right here. We're going to go outwards by 18 blocks. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now we're going to go over by 17. So that in total, that 17 plus this one will be a total of 18. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And now we want to go ahead and complete this square and fill it in with solid blocks. Once your platform looks a little bit like this, what we want to go ahead and do is go to each of the corners and count in by 4 and place a block. So for this corner, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, place a block. Over here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, place a block. Over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, place a block. And 1, 2, 3, 4, place a block. These blocks are going to be where our water sources will be on top of, which will be important for later. Now that we're over here, we want to go ahead and place an extra 2 blocks just like this. And now we want to go ahead and start putting in our minecart rails. So the minecart rails are going to go something like this. So we're going to put a power rail right here. And then we're going to go ahead and do regular rails until we are parallel with one of the water source areas. And that's when we're going to switch to a powered rail. Then in the middle, we're going to go back to regular. And now that we're in line with this, we're going to go back to powered. And you're going to do this down to the end and wrap around to go right next to it. Doing the same pattern with the powered rails. Now when you get back to this side, you want to not go all the way to the end, but you want to go ahead and turn the corner one from the end like this. And once we do that, we're going to go ahead and repeat the same pattern only using powered rails when it's in line of the water source blocks, and continue wrapping around. Don't worry if you hit into the water source block placeholder, as you can just continue wrapping around as the rails will still get full coverage, as you'll see. As you can see, after enough rows, the minecart rails will completely go back to having a straight line, which shows you that the water source placeholders do not actually have an impact on how you wire up the rails. Once you're getting close to the end on this side with your railings, what you want to go ahead and do is not continue the powered rails on the final edge side. Rather, you want to go ahead and place one powered rail right before this corner, and then you're going to do the final wraparound of regular rails all the way back here. And then what you're going to go ahead and do is use these two temporary blocks also for rails. Now, if you get this powered rail switching sides, you are going to need a little bit of extra work here. So what you want to go ahead and do to prevent this from happening is break this rail right here, break this temporarily, put a temporary block, connect the powered rail on both sides, and then place your regular rail. That way it does not latch onto the powered rail and pull it into the wrong direction. Then you want to go ahead and break that rail, place that block back, destroy the one underneath, and place that redstone block back. Now that we have the rails in place, it's time to power the powered rails. So what you want to go ahead and do is line yourself up with these marker blocks, go underneath, and start placing levers. A good way to remember this is that it's going to be 4, and then a space, and then 4 more. Now that we've entered another section, we're going to do another 4. Space, and then we're only going to do 3, as we didn't put a powered rail on this last one because it is unnecessary. Moving over to here, we're going to do the same thing. So we have a 3, a space, and then we have 2 sets of 4, a space, and 1 more set of 4. Now they are all lit up like this. And lastly, what you want to go ahead and power this guy. Like so. Now what you want to go ahead and do is get yourself a minecart with hopper. And you might want to do some testing, as different scenarios might require more or less powered rails in your design. So what you want to go ahead and do is place your minecart with hopper here and place a test button right here. And you want to go ahead and press that. Now, the goal of this farm is to, when this minecart hopper goes through the track and comes back on this other side, when it finally returns to the final station, sometimes it'll tend to just try and leave again, but you need to adjust your powered rails so that when it comes to a stop here, it does not start leaving and continue going. It needs to actually stop over the hopper. So here's an example of this. As the minecart hopper comes back, as you can see, it had too much speed to where this unpowered rail was not enough to stop it. So what this means is that we have to go ahead and delete some of our powered rails towards the end of the track. This might take some trial and error to get correct, depending on how your minecart is moving. So it's important to take your time to figure this out. A quick little error here, these minecart rails should also take this bend to get full coverage. And as you can see, the removal of those few powered rails, the one at the end here, here, and here, allows the minecart with hopper to fully stop. Now, if it is halfway like this, this should be okay. You can test to make sure that the items are still going through into the hopper, as they'll get stuck in here. Now we're going to go ahead and start building our dirt platform. So what we want to go ahead and do is go to each one of these water source holder blocks, surround it with dirt, put water in the middle. Then you want to surround this one by dirt and put in the water in the middle, and do the same for the rest. Now you want to go ahead and go over to this rail, this regular rail near the minecart with hopper, and you want to go ahead and do an outline of dirt around the outside of all the rails. Now we can fill in all the air spots with dirt as well. Once you've done this, take any light source block of your choice and go ahead and place it above each of the water sources. This will be helpful to make sure that no pumpkins or melons fall into the water and cannot get picked up. Now once you have something that looks like this, we want to go ahead and till the dirt here in a checkerboard-like pattern. So an easy way to do this is kind of just walk along every stretch of 2 blocks and alternate which ones you are tilling with your hoe. Now your soil should look like this with a checkerboard pattern, and now it's time to plant the seeds. A better way to envision this larger platform is 4 different subsections that are divided into 9 by 9. So for example, one 9 by 9 would be these 4, this glowstone, and these 4. And then the width of it would be these 4, this glowstone, and these 4. This will be helpful to get our proportions right so that our farm optimally produces as close to even number of pumpkins and melons as possible. So what you want to go ahead and do is we're going to fill these 2 quadrants completely with melon seeds. So the farthest that it'll extend towards the middle here will be these 4. So everything kind of past this line here to the right here is all going to be melon seeds. Now that you have the right side completely done with melons, we're going to go ahead and do the left side. Now for the left side, we're going to focus on this quadrant right here, and this quadrant we're going to split between melons and pumpkins. So the way that we're going to split it is we're going to go from this glowstone right here, make these 2 melons, and then the right half of this quadrant will be melons. So we're going to go ahead and fill into melons, and we're only going to go to the end of the quadrant, which will be 4 over, so only these 2, and then we'll go ahead, draw another line kind of here from this half of the quadrant, and fill these in with melon seeds to look something like this. Now that you have done that, you can go ahead and just fill the rest in with pumpkins. And your finished product should look like this. Next, we're going to go ahead and install a border around our farm crops. So how we're going to do this is we're going to go ahead, come over to one of these seeds here and place a glass block like this. Now, when you get to the corner, you want to place a glowstone. And then we're going to do this kind of pattern on all 4 of the sides to make sure that we have enough light coming in from the sides to make sure that our plants have enough light to always be growing. So after this glowstone, we're going to go by 4, place a glowstone to line up with the other ones. Then we're going to go 3 pieces of glass, 2 glowstone in the middle, 3 glass, 1 glowstone, 4 glass, corner. All right, so the pattern again, 1, 2, 3, 4, glowstone, 1, 2, 3, double glowstone, 1, 2, 3, glowstone, 1, 2, 3, 4, glowstone. One more time, 1, 2, 3, 4, light block, 1, 2, 3, 2 light blocks, 1, 2, 3, light block, 1, 2, 3, 4, light block. And now your setup should look something like this with the alignment of the light blocks and glass blocks. And now we're on to the final part of the farm, which is going to be installing the actual observers and pistons, which will be detecting when we need to break the melon and pumpkin blocks to be picked up by our minecart with hopper. So to get started, you want to go ahead and get yourself the resources necessary, and you want to come over to any corner. You want to go ahead and crouch, jump, and place an observer facing into the stem there. And what you want to go ahead and do is you want to go ahead and place observers on top of all of these stems. And an easy way to do this is kind of going over diagonals. And you want to bring up the light blocks all by one with another light block. So you'll go ahead and continue placing observers above each and every stem there is until you reach the other corner. And then you'll kind of go over like this. And as you can see, I'm crouching over these so that I don't keep falling and trampling the crops. Repeat this process until every single stem has an observer above it facing into it. When you're complete with that step, you should have a setup that looks like this with all the observers, and make sure that you continue to bring up your light source pillars with more light source blocks up a block. Now is going to be the kind of tricky part. If you have an elytra, you can use that, or if you don't, you can use a trapdoor. And what we need to do is we need to enter crawl mode and crawl through the farm to place the pistons. So what you want to go ahead and do is find an opening, place a trapdoor, open it, walk in, flatten yourself with the trapdoor, move over to the side a little bit, and then break the trapdoor. The way that you want to do this is when you're crawling, you want to stay in between a set of 2 blocks. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and place pistons like this. And you're going to do this kind of crawling along each column of 2 blocks in between each so that you don't accidentally stand up. And you want to place pistons all the way down and kind of repeat this process all the way over. If you accidentally stand up, all you need to do is place a block, place a trapdoor, open it, break the block, and then flatten yourself once again with the trapdoor. Then you can align yourself in the middle of 2 blocks, and then you can continue placing your pistons. You want to repeat this method until all of the air spaces are filled with pistons facing downward. After you place your final piston, you'll not be able to get out of here, so you can just break a hole in the side here and then replace that glass once you get on the outside. And now your platform should look something like this. The next step is going to be placing a solid block on top of any observer that you see. So what that's going to be like is kind of just going over all the observers, placing solid blocks. And for all your light blocks, you also want to extend them upwards by 1 with another light block. Once you kind of do this diagonal pattern, you want to continue on the whole thing so that you kind of have another set of checkerboard blocks above all of the observers. Repeat this until you have completed the entire area. Now the top of your farm should look something like this with another checkerboard pattern and the light blocks extended upwards by 1. Now for the final part of the farm, you want to go ahead and drop down to here, and you want to place redstone on the air blocks in between the new layer of checkered blocks of solid blocks. This will place a piece of redstone on top of every piston so that if any of the surrounding observers activate, it'll activate the pistons that are nearby to destroy any possible pumpkins or melons into items that can then get picked up by the minecart with hopper. You want to go ahead and repeat the process of filling in the redstone in the air gaps until your entire area is complete. And with the final bits of redstone, your farm is now complete. So for the next steps, all you need to do is to turn it on. And to turn it on, make sure that your top redstone torch is off from your lever. And you can also check that items are starting to flow between these hoppers. Now your timing circuit will be on, which will launch this minecart with hopper every so often to go ahead and collect items. Your pumpkin and melon stems will grow and take a little bit to grow, so be patient with that. and you have now completed a fully automatic pumpkin and melon farm that can be scaled. A couple of housekeeping items. Bedrock is a little weird depending on your simulation distance, so if you ever want to check if the system is getting backed up, you can check this buffer system, and if you see lots of items in here, maybe you want to check this crafter to see if there's something other than a melon slice in here that might be locking up the system. Another thing you can check is to make sure that your minecart hopper is getting back to the starting position. Sometimes it may get stuck around somewhere over here if you happen to log out at the wrong time or something like that. However, Minecraft has been doing some improvements with minecarts and how they are saved in their traveling and travel speed when you close the world and things like that. So you shouldn't be having as many problems as you used to back in the day. This module of the farm you can actually build more of. So basically what that'll be like is repeating this exact thing, except you don't need to build the storage system or the timing circuit. And if you can build one right to the right of it, but kind of mirrored, and you can channel that hopper over to this side of the storage system. Make sure that you always feed items from other modules into the correct side here. And then if you want to do the timing circuit for another module that you would build over here, make sure you take the output from this redstone torch here. This redstone torch makes sure that it only briefly fires once in a while and doesn't stay powered normally. Once all your pumpkin and melon seeds are fully grown, you can see in between the farm that it will now be crushing the pumpkin and melons when they grow, and then they will be picked up by the minecart hopper, which periodically pulses and travels to collect items. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy your pumpkins and melons, and let me know what other farms you'd like to see next, if any. Alright? Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!